Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. So glad to have you guys in. We are talking about players that we need to make sure that we're getting on the field for week 3 of the fantasy football season. Now, these aren't going to be your obvious must-start players. These are players that might potentially be on your bench, and we need to make sure that we get these guys into your starting lineup. So before we get into today's video, if you've been watching my channel and if you've been enjoying my content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I know I have a lot of you that watch consistently but haven't subscribed yet. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all my videos this year, all my live streams. I'm doing running back and wide receiver rankings every single week via live stream, so you can interact with me while I do my rankings. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be in those live streams with us and make sure that you are getting your best lineup on the field every week. Starting today, I am going to be doing must-starts every single week, players that are kind of sneaky must-starts, not your obvious ones. So I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list that I have, and that is Jameson Williams. Now, this is a guy who might or might not be in your starting lineup yet. He was typically drafted very late in fantasy drafts, but this dude has to be in your lineup every week. It's starting to look like he's the next alpha pass catcher in the offense after Amon-Ra St. Brown, instead of it being Sam Laporta. Now that Jameson Williams is 100% on the field, this dude has seen 20 targets through 2 weeks. He's averaging 20 yards per reception. He's getting targeted a lot. He's getting targeted downfield, and he has a 67.9% air yard share in the offense. This is absolutely ridiculous, an absolutely insane opportunity share and air yard share for Jameson Williams. He's somehow only third in the league right now with the 67.9% air yard share, but if he ends up with like a 45% air yard share, which is actually sustainable for the course of the season, he will lead the league in air yard share at the wide receiver position. This dude is an absolute fantasy monster, and he needs to be in your starting lineup every week. This week, going up against Arizona. Arizona's been involved in 2 very high-scoring games to start the season. This game has serious shootout potential, and you're going to want to start Jameson Williams probably every week going forward, and certainly this week against Arizona, the Cardinals. All right, next player on my list is going to be Tank Dell. Now, if you look at Tank Dell so far, been a little bit of a fantasy disappointment, but he started last year that same way. He was slow out of the gate, and then he started to look like he was the wide receiver 1 in the offense before going down with the injury. He didn't really do anything in the first 2 weeks of last season, so to write him off after the first 2 weeks is absolutely ridiculous. It takes these players some time to get going. This dude does have a 41.7% air yard share in his offense, so he's getting a massive chunk of the air yard share. It's just that he hasn't really been able to connect with C.J. Stroud yet. They had 2 almost touchdowns in this last game. They had that one deep route over the middle of the field that just went off Tank Dell's hands. He probably would have scored a touchdown had he caught that ball. This dude is going to explode this year. Yes, Nico Collins is the wide receiver 1 in the offense, but Tank Dell is right there with him. If you look at the air yardage share between these two, it's very, very similar. They're getting targeted the same as far as their opportunity share and their air yard share. It's just that they haven't really been able to connect yet. It's only a matter of time before they do. Tank Dell is going to go off this year in a matchup against Minnesota that really doesn't have any answers for Tank Dell on the defensive side of the ball. I love Tank Dell this week. It's a great matchup. Start him with confidence. Next player on my list is going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, this is a guy who comes out in week 2 and has 16 freaking targets. I mean, this is the target share we wanted to see for Jackson Smith-Njigba his rookie year. And, he just never really had those double-digit target games. He comes out and gets 16 targets. This is a very good sign. We know that wide receivers that are great prospects typically break out in year 2. It's starting to look like JSN could be that year 2 breakout player for us. And he has a 26.5% target share in the team. So his opportunity share in the offense is absolutely elite. I think this is very much because of the fact that Tyler Lockett is getting older. So Jackson Smith-Njigba is a player going forward that we're going to be wanting to start with confidence. Playing up against Miami, I don't think that Miami, despite what anybody says, has any answers in their secondary for the Seattle pass game. I see a potentially big game for DK Metcalf and JSN again, just like we saw last week. I love this matchup against the Miami with the increased target share for Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I'm going to be starting him this week with confidence. You got to make sure this guy's in your starting lineup. Next player on my list is going to be Ramondre Stevenson against the New York Jets. Now, going into the season, I would have said this is a terrible matchup, right? The offensive efficiency isn't good for New England. The New York Jets have an incredible defense, and it might not be a game where the Patriots come out and score a shit ton of fantasy points. But if you look at this matchup, look, the New York Jets run defense has not been nearly as good as we've expected them to be, despite having, all the pieces to be a great run defense. We saw Jordan Mason absolutely tear them up in week 1 on the ground. They had no answer for him. They've been giving up lots of chunk plays to running backs. So I like Ramondre Stevenson this week to bust a big play or two. He's been heavily involved in the passing game. If you look at the underlying usage, this dude has a 78.7% snap share in the offense. This is 8th in the NFL. He has an 80% opportunity share, 8th in the NFL. And if you look at his pass catching usage, he leads the NFL in route participation with an 83.3% route participation. This dude is absolutely massively involved in the game plan for the Patriots. He's the centerpiece of the offense, and the Jets defense hasn't really been what we expect them to be at all as far as defending the run. So I like Ramondre to have yet another breakout in week 3, just like he's done in weeks 1 and 2 of the fantasy football season. We are starting this guy with confidence going forward. We are starting him with confidence against the Jets. Next player and final player I have here on my list is going to be Brian Robinson Jr. Now, I'm probably more excited for Brian Robinson than I am anybody this week. I mean, this is a guy who, we have a player that is an elite talent, and nobody really knows it. I mean, this dude comes out and he's had a 72.7% opportunity share in his offense so far, 13 yards per reception, 5.44 yards per route run, leads the NFL at the running back position in yards per route run. And then, we look at his matchup this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're not really going to have any answers for him. I mean, this is a guy who's going to come out and just absolutely torch this defense. I think that Brian Robinson has yet another good week. He's averaged 4.8 yards created per touch, which is top 8 in the NFL so far in the young season. This dude is bouncing off tackles. He's making people miss. He's a tremendous talent, and I like the matchup this week. I don't think Cincinnati's going to have any answers for him, and the main reason we're starting Brian Thompson Jr. outside of his talent is the fact that he looks like he is absolutely the running back one in his backfield. We thought it was going to be a complete split backfield going into the season, but with the 72.7% opportunity share, he is getting a lot more out of the plays of the backfield and all the plays in the backfield that we thought he was going to get. So he's being used more than we expected. So we're going to be starting him with confidence going forward. All right, appreciate you guys. Make sure you get these guys on the field this week. They are smash plays. They're probably going to win you the week. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you later.